to you, Kizzy Wade.
Woo! Well, thank you all for being here. It's really awesome to have so many people, and if you're reading tonight, it's because you've made a difference to my journey, and I really appreciate that. And there's one person that's not reading that refused to, who should be, and that's Gary. You made a massive you made a massive difference to my poetry life and my life in general. So thank you for having me tonight, and thank you for putting together this amazing event. So the first one I've got is sort of one I've adopted as my cover poem going into the new sort of voice I've been working on, and it's called Your Comfort is Important to Me. And I wrote it because people keep claiming that online that my poetry makes them uncomfortable, and they don't quite get that is the point. Your comfort is important to me. It really is. I don't want to personally attack anyone, but I can't pussyfoot around the big issues. I have to at least try and inject some urgency into the powers that be. So if you're still in denial and my words offend you, well, that was kind of the point. If you're the sort of person that defends yourself against anti-hate in direct social media posts, insulting, accusing the author of arrogant ignorance, claiming they judge everyone in the same light, then I suggest the content was a bit close home. And if that's true, I'm glad it struck a chord. Even if it pulled a little too tight, that discomfort is on you. If you find the idea of activism annoying, if you can't fathom the importance of people power and would rather brag about being apolitical, leaving lives in the hands of removed incompetence, you have clearly never felt the burning rage that good activists feel. And if I'm the one that finally makes you feel that fire, then I'm proud to ignite it. If you resent people's rights to say something's problematic, discrediting them instead of listening and educating yourself, then you don't care for the comfort of others, the strife they've been through, the memories you could be dragging up at the expense of your freedom of speech. Then I believe that though respect is a given, I can respectfully listen and discount your point of view. I have to fight for their comfort ahead of yours. If you think social change is negative because you think the world ain't broke and we don't need to fix it, then someone needs to open your eyes. Someone needs to pop your bubble of privilege and demonstrate the point of the pin of reality. And if you find the real world uncomfortable, well, join the club. So if you're uncomfortable, I'm sorry, but the chances are the way you're acting makes a lot of people uncomfortable too. And if that is the case, then I am talking to you because your mindset needs to change, and discomfort does breed that. So I hope I succeed in causing it. Thank you. The next one I've got is what I would consider one of my more cutting pieces. I'm just trying to find it. I have them all minimized. Here it is. Raise flags to raise patriotism. Be proud of your flag. Be proud of your country. That's a new distraction. Message. And don't forget when the left point out the hypocrisy in making divisive decisions to promote unity, they're just being anti-British. No, I'll be proud of Britain when the streets are safe and we can trust figures of authority to make sure of that. When schools stop pandering to impolite playground comedians and Casanovas and come up with a pragmatic prevention for predators before the jokes become jail time and the flippant taunts tortured flashbacks. I'll be proud of Britain when the ruling class is held to account, not just the Eastern educated Egypts who constantly choose the selfish route, parliamentarily protected from death, poverty, and misery they cause. But those with blue blood who still give our British Empire memberships, those who we, a secular nation, ask God to save, I wonder how they're coping, dealing with all that racism and paedophilia internally must be really hard. I'll be proud of Britain when financial protection is afforded to all, especially those who spend their days and patience on people and patients. Tell me, did that 1% pay rise take 1% of your sleep that night? Or did you care for the carers whose allowance you disallowed when you raised minimum wage, but not their threshold? If they retrain like Fatima, the country's future wouldn't be in cyber, rather in ruin. But what was your burn this year, Boris? I'll be proud of Britain when rights aren't political pawns to be protected and sacrificed, no matter whether you or your book believe in a group's reality or struggle. All rights are human rights, and when that's no longer a matter of opinion, debate, or a valid manifesto item, and I have the right to protest for that. Until then, I will not raise a flag. Until then, maybe take those flagpoles and use them as spines for Tory MPs that not only manipulate our Union Jack into political symbols, but also let down the average Jack with pedantic policies that seem good on the face of it, but when in fruition, feed frowns. Jack wants to be proud, unified, but they need more. We all do. Thank you. Mum and Dad, it doesn't get any worse than that. The next one I've got is again about British and what it means to be this. This came out of a conversation with a friend of mine, Felix, at our youth theatre collective encounters, who also did serve a shout out in my journey. And we noted how many times British values had been used as an excuse for the bigotry we'd sustained. So I wrote this. The phrase "I'm British" often gets used as a prefix to bigotry. Patriotism, now a valid reason for hate. British values, an excuse for prehistoric points of view. A passport away from criticism. A wall against education. But what are the values you speak of, and what do they really stand for? 1. Rule of law. Actually, in case you weren't aware, hate is now a crime. Any kind of hate, verbal or physical, no matter whether it was acceptable in your day. So that word you just called the poor woman in the shop a penny short for the food for her child, yeah, that broke your precious tradition. 2. Democracy. Everyone gets a voice. Everyone, even those with the guts to stand up to the people who share your skewed ideals. Those with the nerve to stand for change. Instead of sharing a cowardly Facebook post they barely understand. So those trans rights activists you threw your bottle at were just being British. Individual liberty, freedom to do as you please within the law. And that's British law, not the toxic laws of oppression you believe in. That means that teenage boy wearing makeup, you know, the one you called a snowflake, he was just being an upstanding British gentleman. Mutual respect and tolerance. Now, this is a big one. Respect is not earned, it's a given right, even if you believe something's being shoved down your throat. That means beating up that lesbian couple on the tube was, you guessed it, not very British. Just to recap, the things these values don't cover you for include tearing people down, hate-fueled violence, and downright nastiness. They can help people understand how to be not just a better Brit, but a better person. And if we all understood this, we'd be a better nation and a better world. Thank you. I'll be back soon. Thank you again for listening.
Let's unmute yourselves and just give our feature, our special guest. Let me reintroduce you, the lady of the moment, Kizzy Wade.
Hello again. It's been lovely to hear everyone. Yeah, my parents have gone. They wanted to thank you all for being so welcoming. I think they were just happy to know that you all exist. But those of you that are familiar with my stuff will know that these I started off writing about nature, and then quite soon after that, I sort of went into disability because I have cerebral palsy. I'm in a wheelchair, so I mean, it was an obvious thing. But recently, I wrote this poem, Achievement. I've always been told that I set my own bar. I am the only one limiting me to what I can achieve. My own thoughts, doubts, and self-confidence. And while that's a nice slogan for a cushion or a verse from inside of a card, let's get real. See, my disability means my achievements are always othered. Isn't she switched on for a disabled kid? Good disabled athlete, good grade for a disabled student. And all those things are true, but they'd be true without the mention of my physical limitations. Sometimes the word disabled seems like a synonym for second rate or a shocked face emoji. But or a wow, despite all that. And it's not a vocabulary issue. In fact, this person first language differently abled doesn't help. They're just an awful attempt at dressing up stigma whilst highlighting it. If it's not relevant, don't mention it. For those who think it's a compliment to acknowledge the struggle, here's why it's not. You might be the best disability ally there is, but the chances of someone in that room, the default response will be sympathy. Unfortunately, sympathy often overpowers respect, and while the former is often brought on by my four wheels, the latter is something I have to fight for. So when not in focus, the least reminders of my difference, the better. Some people might accuse me of being ashamed. I'm not. I'm proud of what I've achieved because of and in spite of my sat down position. I just wish it wasn't a constant prefix to my life. You see, on a good day, my disability means nothing to me. It's surprisingly easy to forget about after 16 years. So easy, in fact, in my first Zoom job interview, I forgot to mention it. I understand that, that might come across hypocritical. A whole poem about sounding disabled from a disability activist. But this is sort of my point. Here, inside the poem, we need to concentrate on my experience. During a political debate or an exam, we probably don't. Like most things, it's all about context. Thank you. And yesterday, who I noticed celebrating that job interview was with you, and it did take you 4 weeks to ask me if I was disabled or not, and I realised I'd forgotten to mention it. But the next poem I want to do, recently something sort of mad happened to me. I mentioned earlier that I attend youth theatre, or I have done since lockdown, and at some point in March, my friend egged me on to, my friend Ted egged me on to submit a self-tape to the National Youth Theatre of Great Britain, because, and I quote, "It would be a laugh, and what's the worst thing that could happen? They say no, right?" And I ended up getting in, and meaning I will spend some time away in summer, which is absolutely insane, considering I got there on like original poetry and stuff. But in order to self-indulge and celebrate that a bit, I decided to bring the monologue, the poem, that got me past that self-tape. It's called Expiration, and I wrote it because in my life, because I have a lot of friends with like life-limiting disorders. I find myself thinking a lot about legacy, and when I was at Right Club, shout out Right Club, we did a exercise based on some Frankenstein quotes, and they immediately made me think of that. So this is Expiration. I know now the span of my life, and I left debating whether I even desired to. The pressure to expire with elegance leaves a taste ever souring at a pace that cannot be replicated in speech, in poetry, nor in the reading of thought. As the scurrying rodent of regret weighs down the hands of ticking clock inside me. The fleas that hurts don't carry the black death, but instead infect me with the decay. The once bassy sound of my heart has been diminished into two tones. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. So what is left for me to do? What can I do? Just wane as the moon does, and hope there's something to meet me at sunrise? Or do I reflect? Reflect both internally and externally. Look for what deserves a part of me, and leave light, warmth, intense enough to scorch my name into this world. So when the church bells do chime, whatever lies beneath that coffin lid, I do not go cold. I do not expire. Thank you. The final one of this slope is a piece around feminism. Now, I want to make it clear to start off with that, as you'll find out, this is not an anti-feminist piece. I completely stand with feminism. It's just the way it has affected my life and the way it has been used against me. I felt the need to write about. You say you are feminism, my elevator to equality, the thing that will take me up to the floors of the businesses I want to lead, the thing that will take me up to the stages I want to be on, the thing that will take me up to the plinth I want to speak behind. But all I get from you is down talk and being pushed away from what really matters. You say you are a ballot paper, choice and the freedom to make it. You say you allow me to be whatever I choose, to wear whatever I choose, to be whoever I want to be, and yet you instruct me on who I should be. You say you are a mother, praising, loving, accepting, but all I get is scolding on the internet from people who claim to speak in your name, scolding for ridiculous things. My appearance, the way I act, no acceptance. You say you are all the crowd at a protest, but you will not protest for me. Am I right to be different to what you think I should be? You say I protest against you. I do not. You say you are me, in baggy jeans or even in dress. But you are not me. You refuse to acknowledge my struggles, even when I make them clear in rhyme or in verse. Because your struggles do not line up with mine, and you like to think that my struggles invalidate yours. They do not. Am I difficult, the thorn in your bouquet, the thing that pricks your finger and reminds you that not all women are like you? Am I non-conforming, the blot on your perfect group photo, the thing that will be your everlasting memory of the people you left behind? Am I too blunt, the misquote in OK magazine, not PR friendly, too outspoken and not in the right way? Am I too stubborn, the non-sharer of your Facebook post, refusing to follow you blindly without critical thinking? Aren't I straight enough? The crease in the patronising pages of your self-help book, they don't help me, but alienate me. Now this poem might come across as anti-feminist. It's not. In fact, if my experiences were different, then I may consider myself one. But what you need to understand is you, as a movement, are incapable of speaking for all women unless you include all women and practice what you preach, accepting them. Thank you. The first one I've got is called Acceptance Olympics, and it was wrote in a theatre shop again. Hello and welcome to the Acceptance Olympics, the place where we reward the very least in human kindness. This is Super Saturday, and boy, do we have some tear jerkers for you. But remember, the bar is always low. We can't expect them to jump through hoops carrying that signal virtue. Today, our headline event was a 4,000-word lecture, the event where 8 adults with an omniscience complex lecture teens about their own lived experience. Today we have an array of teachers, extended family, and of course, strangers on the internet. The rules are simple: be cliched, be repetitive, and most importantly, be insensitive. Picking up the bronze medal is Linda. Linda took it upon herself to let a gay teenager coming out on Facebook know that life would be very hard for him. What a kind warning. I mean, I'm sure he already knew that. He was outed in high school after all. But she only has his best interest at heart, and it's nothing to do with internalized homophobia. Sticking with the LGBTQ community now, Trevor and Silver for telling his lesbian relative she's just too young to know. She's 17, so above the legal age of consent. But that doesn't stop Trevor scoring this bonus cliche. 18 to be gay, but free to be straight is a real favourite among our athletes. They just can't get past the sexual bit of sexual preference. But as they always say, it is a lot for them to deal with. Taking on the girl, we have Karen. Karen lectured her female student on how she attracts the unwanted male attention in class. She scored a double for victim blaming, a triple for perpetuating privilege. She noted how she does always get angry when they approach, giving them attention. She said her skirt was kind of distracting and ended it with the classic, boys will be boys. Well done, Karen. She got a personal best too. Her teen listened for a whole 50 words. That could be seen as growth, but you don't get to grow into a decent human being. People don't have to give you the time to do so, and they certainly don't have to give you a medal. Thank you. But it's called Pride Kitchen. And let me start this poem by wishing you happy Pride. Now, if you're expecting optimistic verse, believe me, I've tried. I've tried to write about the rainbows and riots in a regular rhyme, in a regular rhythm, with the expected, elected tone, but I can't. And to understand why, we need to understand my cluttered kitchen cupboard conscience. It's the 30th of June. Today in my kitchen, there's a dinner between my social circles. I find the cutlery. It's different sizes, versions for people to hold on to. I extract them from the cupboard that's filled with everything from batteries to the key to the lock that doesn't quite work. I carry the weight of them towards the group. At my table, I'm having two conversations. The one I'm having in the poem, honest, open, and the one that's a little likelier in my lived experience, loud but lacking in truth. You're both talking over each other. My brain is split unequally in half, and the key to the door still doesn't quite work. The TV flashes in the corner with pictures of pride parades, reminding me of my lack of. The dinner finishes, and it's time to wash up. I turn on the tap. The metal is cold. It shocks me into a state of discomfort and puts me on guard. And then the water begins to flow over my hands, suppressed thoughts seeping into my skin. The safety tested bubbled soap all pop one at a time, and as they do, the memories begin to flow, carrying me away from calm and confidence, narrowly avoiding the plug hole of perfectionism and drain of indecision. I'm so in my head I haven't even noticed the water is burning me. But other people have, and they're asking questions, and so am I. Again, I brush it off and get them to leave. I see her smile in sight and slam the door, re-enter the kitchen and run my hands across the counters, and I notice that some of the water has spilled out, staining slurs on granite. I lick my thumb and wipe manically. No luck. I panic, grab a pride flag and use that. It makes it worse, bold it even. It can never get rid of what will always be there. So I'll just cover it up with the multicoloured printed polyester. I sit alone at the table and think for as long as I can tolerate, then a bit more. And as the calendar flips over to July, I get up, grab the cutlery, I drag the TV, detach the faucet, and pick up the flag, taking them to the cupboard and bundling them in. I take out the faulty key, walk to the door, and try the lock. It works. I leave. I will have to tidy up in here every so often, but I won't have to have dinner until next June. Let me start this poem by wishing you happy Pride. Now, if you're expecting an optimistic verse, believe me, I've tried. I've tried to write about the rainbows and riots in regular rhyme, in regular rhythm, with the expected elected tone, but I can't. And to understand why, you need to understand my cluttered kitchen cupboard conscience. Thank you.
But guys, just unmute yourself and just give a massive huge round of applause. Sometimes that's all what needs to be said, guys.
Aye.
Bravo.
I basically wanted to finish this off with a little bit of information about my project, my project away from poetry, which is a radical curriculum fellowship. We are working on basically revolutionising the British education system and hopefully creating an activism curriculum on top of that. We recently rebranded a bit, so we want to raise awareness for other educational issues away from the curriculum, and we want we want sort of adult allies to come to the meetings and help to facilitate and bring new experiences to it. So if you would like to get involved, just most of you have me on Facebook, I feel like. Just message me. And if you don't friend me on Facebook, this was a poem that sort of set that project off. And I think the only ones that have heard it are Gary and Lantern. How to be an activist in 2020. We live in a time where everyone has opinions and everyone has a platform. Everyone has ideas for change. But just having a social media account doesn't make you an activist. It makes you a 21st century human. So what's the difference? An activist activates. They initiate change. They suggest solutions to problems. They are willing to debate and discuss. They have perspectives on issues that you haven't even contemplated. Let's think about activism as a career. I probably belong to the first generation for which fighting for change is a viable job option, but I'm certainly not the first person to aspire to make my mark. The suffragettes, the American Civil Rights Movement, the Chicago Seven, all these people did it before any careers advisor suggested it, just because they had a cause. What can we take from our predecessors? I've thought a lot about this, and the main thing that stuck through the ages is passion and guts. The passion for the cause should be the same whether the platform is a street protest or a blog. And no matter how you're saying the things that go against the grain, you need to be prepared for criticism. You need thick skin, whether it's Trump supporters or hate through the letterbox. But there are differences between then and now. As I said earlier, everyone has a platform. Everyone has opinions. That means we need to be imaginative with our content to get out of the echo chamber. But let me get this straight. I am new to this. I have a tiny reach. But how do I improve? Recently I've noticed there's not much easily accessible education for young activists. It is getting better. There are some programs for climate awareness and anti-racism, but these are very directed and sometimes exclusive. We need general education that people can start their own cars on. We need a radical curriculum. Thank you. And the next point I've got is sort of just to chill it all out again, and it's called keyboard. I haven't done it in a while, so if I make mistakes, bear with me. I wish there was a print button in my brain, a button that could give me everything I have ever thought to have and to hold, every idea, every opinion, every observation that has ever come into my conscience. Maybe then I could choose which notes to take note of more easily, because sometimes good ideas seem to glitch and disappear without hope of redo or refresh. And sometimes the thoughts that screw my psyche into a ball staple and stay there. I wish there was a delete button in my brain to allow me to lose the loud thoughts and long time echoes so I have space for streamlined thought in silence. And maybe I'll manage to clear my own cognitive dissonance. I'll maybe make some headway in my own unconscious bias to finally craft my own thought completely. I wish there was a save button in my brain to allow me to keep memories, scenarios, and situations in a bank. Just the ones that remind me why I bother, the things that anger me into action, the obstacles, the doubters, the injustices. I wish I could keep it all as fuel. I wish there was an escape button in my brain for when I need a complete break, away from the thoughts affixed to my mind on post-it notes or with pins on cork, or the endless pings of notifications of my mistakes and shortfalls. It would be nice to have a white cross in a red box to click with a mouse when my mind is running too fast, like it's powered by mice. I wish there was a control button in my brain to filter what comes and goes because there has been so many unauthorized intrusions. I think I need better virus protection to keep my files as I left them and the documents that made me as I know them. In reality, there is no key to the mind, not even a keyboard. The mind is a computer too complicated to be controlled by cracked plastic. It has an algorithm embedded in an impossible algorithm. It contains symbols that cannot be found in QWERTY. It is coded in a language far beyond understood mathematics. It is organic. Thank you. And the final poem I have of the night to finish it all off. I chose to finish with this because this is a poem I wrote as a thank you to all the people that have been involved in my journey. And for anyone who doesn't know, my life was very difficult before I found poetry. I had zero confidence. I was really badly bullied at school. I had barely any friends, and I was really struggling just to find a purpose and carry on. Poetry gave me hope. It's as simple as that. See, before I started writing, I dreamt but never hoped. Dreaming is when your head is in the clouds. For it to be hoping, your feet have to be on the ground. Your knees have to take the weight of rational reality. Standing has never been my strong point, not just in the physical sense. I never really stood for what I wanted or what I believed in. I more crouched to conceive, held down for a shortfall, because I couldn't see past my own physical and mental shortfalls. I used to plant my feet on the ground wearing steel toe caps of resilience and breathe in the optimism, oxygen, but soon enough, nettles always poked through my soles to sting me with spikes of self-doubt and cause blisters that brought me down. Now I'm not saying that my prognosis doesn't prick my confidence every now and then, and I still don't waste time wishing to walk but I do have a medium to mediate with my mind and understand what I can do for the world. It allowed me to scribble down the thoughts that circulate and stay cycling some kind of order, and finally have them heard, and give me space to think productively about how to solve problems. When I listen to poetry, I have hope for my future. I see a diverse range of people talking about everything from talking turkeys to prime number romances. And I realise that somewhere in there might even be space for me, a platform for me to speak and make some material changes for future lost teams. Maybe I can literally talk for England, as my granddad always used to say. When I meet with poets, it restores my faith in humanity, give me hope that life doesn't have to be like high school. They've taught me more than any textbooks about cultures far away from mine. They've given me permission to be something other than happy and indifferent. They've taught me I don't have to bend to be liked. Poetry has given me hope. Just one final thank you to everyone that's been involved tonight. It's been awesome. I expected a night like this to come 3, 4, 5 years into my journey and have like almost 30 people here 3 hours later is ridiculous. And if you're still here, there's a great chance that we're friends, and if we're friends, you probably made a difference to the way I think about the world. And you've probably made me happy at some point when I really needed it. So thank you. And again, thank you to the amazing Gary for being so organised and even kicking me out of my own Facebook group so that I wouldn't. But
Oh, that's one of the highlights of my life. If those who don't know, we've had a group of Kizzy talks all week, so I kicked her out of it. So everybody was talking to Kizzy, was talking to me. And the best thing, Kizzy didn't know. Oh,